Congratulations on being close to the close of week 2 of GE3510 Macroeconomics. Week 2, where we have covered 3 chapters. Those chapters, Chapter 2, Chapter 14, Chapter 15, Chapter 2 covering a topic like most weeks will that is applicable to macroeconomics as well as microeconomics, a fundamental topic to economics, in other words, that being comparative advantage. Then we have the public goods and tax policy, that being a macroeconomic idea, public goods being characteristics that really define whether and when it might be applicable for more intervention from the government. And they have very specific characteristics. So that's a really important topic, one that's debated often when thinking about public policy. And then, of course, spending, income, and GDP being a macroeconomic topic, measuring the entire performance of the entire economy. Everything from the discussion forums on down, that's what we need to get done. Remember that the discussion forums are worth 21% of the grade. Really want to pick up 100% of that 21%. Really want to approach this class and every class by picking up as many of these points as possible. This is not the place to get a C because you want this to be able to pick up places where you don't have much control over, such as the quizzes. In order to get full credit, you need a minimum of 4 posts, but that is the minimum. And if a post is not up to the standards for full credit, then you won't get there within 4 posts. But because of the way of the grading of discussion forums, it is still possible to get there with more posts. Just make sure that when you add posts, it does add content that's relevant to the topic of economics within the discussion. If you copy and paste anything, that's okay, but then reference what you have found. And to get full credit on a post such as that, you want to rephrase it in your own words and or critique whether you believe the information is correct or not. Again, the information will not always be correct when we're talking about macroeconomic topics. A lot of debate. So then we have the assignments, the homework, and the quizzes. Remember that although most of this work will be done up in McGraw-Hill's Connect, it will not all be listed up there, and although most of it will not be done here in Moodle Rooms, you still want to get back here to Moodle Rooms and check everything off. This is your check sheet to make sure you get everything done. Make sure to use the check sheet. Check off everything that we are doing as we are doing it. Then we've got the quiz down here. The quiz is something that is due by Sunday, as is everything. However, the quiz, we have less leeway for late work. Therefore, if you run into a time constraint, make sure to take the quiz. Don't get a 0 on the quiz. A 5% is better than a 0% on the quiz, and then go back and see if you can pick up late work at a later time if you run into a time constraint, and remember that you will lose late points for any late work in accordance with Charter College policy. Gradebook's going to be up here on the left side. I have the grades, everything is due on Sunday each week. I have until Wednesday to enter the grades. I try to get them in there Tuesday around noon. Therefore, Tuesday around noon, check the gradebook. Make sure it has been updated. You should be going through. You have an image of what it looks like because you've been going through and checking everything off. And then just make sure that it is updated in accordance with what you believe it should be updated to be. If it's not, let me know. If something changes from a 0 dash to a 0, then it means that's an indication that it has not been done. So see if you can pick that up for late work. Next week, we're going to be going into the week 3, and week 3 will be covering a macro and microeconomic topic. A topic that will cover both macro and micro, and then a macroeconomic topic. And so we're going to talk about some demand, which will cover, of course, both macro and micro. And then we'll talk more about policy, public policy, which is more specifically a macro concept. After we learn some of these macro things, these goals such as growth of GDP, the question is, how do we set up policy in order to achieve some of those goals? Where do market forces, which we typically think is the default, have a problem and therefore need intervention from a government intervention in order to set the market to an optimal level to get the most out of it. Congratulations on being close to the close of week 2.